Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1473A, and today's date is January 16th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Countries Pivot Away from the Dollar as the Central Bankers Prepare for the Collapse. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we've been watching a couple of things in regards to the global economy. We've been watching the people's economy, the real economy, where there's stores, where there's jobs, where there's manufacturing, those type of things. Well, plus real estate and things like that. That is declining very, very rapidly. We've also been looking at the illusion, where the central bankers are continually keeping this illusion alive, making us seem like everything is great. And this is done with stock market numbers, by manipulating the unemployment numbers and things like that, real estate numbers, blowing up bubbles. This is what they do, and this is what they've done all along. And two important things happen today, where it gives us a clear signal that the central banks are preparing to bring this economy down. It looks like they might have their scapegoat, and it might be more than one individual or group or countries that they're going to blame this on. We also have the banks around the world where they're going to now accept into the reserves the petro-yuan. And these are two very, very important things that are happening right in front of our face. And if I go back in time, I remember the time where, if you go back 2-3 years, where we were talking about the Chinese yuan, the renminbi, being included in the SDR basket, becoming a reserve currency. And at that time, people were like, no, this won't happen. This is impossible. And everyone's saying, well, now we have the petro-yuan, but guess what? It's tiny, it's small. It can never become the reserve currency. Well, let me ask you, how quickly did the dollar become the petrodollar once we came off the gold standard? Does it really take that long? No, it really doesn't. It doesn't have to go through all these different things. All you need is one gigantic distraction. And this distraction could be a war, it could be anything. And when the new system is brought up, they say, hey, by the way, we're on the petro-yuan right now. And China is the reserve currency. That's how quickly it happens. There's nothing else that needs to be done. This is what happened. I mean, there's inner workings, but that's pretty much it. This is what happened during World War II. And then in the 70s, yes, they planned for it, just like they planned for the petro-yuan. Overnight, the whole thing was switched. Yes, for a couple of years, things were pretty bad. And we're going to see the same thing because we're switching to a completely different system. And we see that this whole thing is about to erupt. Now, the real economy in the United States and around the world is declining very, very rapidly. It's deteriorating. It's ripping itself apart. And all the illusionary numbers, well, they're not working as well as they once did. We see the Empire Fed Manufacturing Survey. It has tumbled for 3 straight months in a row. And under the covers, it was a complete disaster. New orders plunging by 19 to 11.9. Number of employees crashing from 22.9 to 3.8. Work hours cratering from 9.3 to just 0.8. I mean, this is just unbelievable. And even the Fed, the Boston Fed President Eric Rosengren, is out there, and he's concerned about potential asset bubbles in commercial real estate. And we've been talking about commercial real estate. We've been talking about real estate. The same thing in commercial real estate that has been happening in regular real estate, where they're making these subprime security type of investment deals where they package everything together. They're doing the same thing that they did in 2008 with everyday real estate. They're doing it with commercial real estate today. And they're very worried about this. And once again, we're seeing the same exact signs. Now, Trump had a phone call with China's President Xi Jinping, and they talked about all different things. They talked about North Korea and things like that. And Trump used the call to express his disappointment that the United States trade deficit with China has continued to grow, and made it clear that this cannot be sustained. And it is true that it is growing. Now, of course, what we're seeing right now is the beginning of the end of the entire system. And we need to look at the signals, the signs that are being thrown at us. Now remember, the petro-yuan is now live. And we know that Russia and China, they have together created a real global alternative to the US dollar. Now, this is part of the central banker's plan because they're moving the system over to China. It doesn't seem like they are, but they really are. Yes, in the beginning, what they do is they make it seem like this is going to be the best thing since sliced bread, where it's all good for the people. We're going to have trade. China's creating the Belt and Road. This sounds fantastic. And what they do is they wait for a number of years, and then they take us off that system. And the reason why China and Russia have been accumulating so much gold is because they need to restore confidence once the system breaks down. This doesn't mean that the system is going to be backed by gold, but as long as there is an insurance policy and they can show the gold to say, hey, listen, we have the gold just in case the paper currency doesn't work out. We can back up everything. And that's all countries need to hear and see, even though later on it won't matter, because this is what the central bank really wants. They want complete control of the creation of currency. And we can see right now that China's weight in the crude oil market is not by itself sufficient to shake the global dominance of the petrodollar. But I don't think they need to be sufficient in the entire world right now where they have global dominance and they take over from the petrodollar. All the central bankers need is an event. Now, what's very interesting is that Germany's central bank confirmed it would include China's renminbi in its reserves. Asian Financial Forum in Hong Kong on Monday said that the central bank had decided to include the RMB in their currency reserves. Now, the inclusion in the German central bank's reserve basket underscored China's increasing prominence in the global financial landscape. And when we look at how the dollar has been doing compared to renminbi, the renminbi has been stable, and this is the yuan, has been stable for 18 months, where the dollar has been very volatile. And when countries look at this, they say, which would I rather have? A stable currency or a volatile currency? And we see right now, this is all part of the entire plan to make everyone convinced they need to move over to this new currency. This is the whole plan being set up right now. Remember, the whole thing's being set up and positioned for China to become the reserve currency. Now, the local currency of each country, that I don't know if that has been decided. It could be cryptocurrency. It could be a central bank cryptocurrency. It could be electronic dollars, and they might just reissue a new electronic currency. We don't know as of yet. But what we know for sure is that they're going to blame this on Trump. Now, why do I say this? Now, we've been saying this since he got elected. And we know that they had to give him some time to be president, to get his feet wet, and to take responsibility for the economy. And all they needed was economists or someone out there to say that this is Trump's economy. And it just happened. Economists, they all agreed that this is no longer Obama's economy. It is Trump's economy, and he should be congratulated and he should take a bow for getting the economy to where it is today. The stock market at 26,000 points. Everyone having a job because the unemployment rate is down at 4.1%. Manufacturing is coming back to the country. No, none of this is actually true. Because what we're really seeing in the economy, and we've been delving deep into these numbers, is that the economy is actually falling apart. It's not improving. People aren't getting better jobs. People aren't getting jobs. Actually, just in the last month or so, thousands upon thousands are being told that they're going to be laid off. We see out in the UK, this construction firm, they're going to be letting go around, 43,000 people? worldwide, the whole thing is falling apart right now. And what the central bankers are doing right now is they're setting everything up. Because look, they have the pivot away from the dollar. It's already starting. Banks are going to start keeping the yuan, the renminbi, in the reserves. Countries are going to be using the petro-yuan. And this doesn't need to take a huge amount of time. It doesn't need to take years and years and years, because the central bankers, what they do is they set everything up, they put everything into position, and then they have some type of an event. And when all is said and done, and this most likely is going to be a war, when all is said and done, what they do is then say, oh, look, the war, it completely devastated the old financial system. It looks like gold, it looks like China and Russia, they have the gold. And this is assuming that they're going to win the war. They have the manufacturing. They have everything that they need. And basically, what we're going to do is we're going to move the system and have the yuan become the reserve currency, because it looks like they have the petro-yuan. They have all the investment systems all set up. They have everything ready to go. And the old dollar system, that's done with. We can't do anything with it. And then all of a sudden, we're on this new system. Countries get together, more gold is introduced into the system for confidence, and we're off and running. I mean, this is pretty much what happened during World War II, Bretton Woods. And the central banks would then have control of the new system. Now, in the beginning of the system, it's going to feel great because there's not much debt. Manufacturing is ready to go. All the countries are going to have to rebuild from what has happened. The population is reduced, so you don't need that much debt out there. It's all backed by the confidence of gold, and the central bankers have their control. And the reason why I don't think they're going to back it with gold is because they're going to use the same scheme of the petro-yuan, just like the petrodollar. And it looks like they have the ability to do this. Before, they didn't have this ability because they were just backing everything by gold. And I think this time they're going to use gold as the confidence booster, and they're going to back it by the petro-yuan. And what this means is all these countries, and this is why China and Russia are moving into the Middle East, and the U.S. is leaving, except the cabal wants to keep control of their system. They make a lot of money off this, and they don't want to see this go. And they're fighting to keep it. But what we're seeing right now is everything is falling into place. And we'll be talking about what the cabal is trying to do in the geopolitical report, because you can see they are really pushing their agenda. So this new transition is headed our way. We don't know if it's going to be done with a distraction, if Trump is going to beat the central bank to the punchline, where he's going to bring the system down, blame it on the central bank, and maybe take control of the system. This is why he has Andrew Jackson once again hanging in his office, because this is the move. The Patriots behind Trump, this is what they're trying to do. This is their move that they're trying to make. Now, again, it is a race to the finish line on who's going to take control of the entire system. But one thing we know for sure is that we will eventually go into some type of transition, because the dollar will no longer be the reserve currency. It will transition to something completely different. Again, we don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. It all depends on who the winner is going to be, but there will be tough times ahead. Look what happened when we were coming off the gold standard in 1970. We couldn't get oil because the new system was coming online, but it was still the dollar. It was still the reserve currency of the world. But look, people were out of work in the 70s. People had trouble. There was huge inflation because we came off the gold standard. That was the positive part, because it made people's houses move up, salaries move up, and things like that. People were able to put their funds in the bank, CDs, get 16, 17, 18% of interest. When you're coming onto a new system, it's fantastic. When you're coming off of the system, where it's all built on debt, and it's moving someplace else, this is the hard part. So no matter what, we're going to be going through some type of transition, and it looks like we're getting closer and closer to that time. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.